which is that the financial infrastructure that we all rely on today is fundamentally extremely important versions of this in our lives. If you think about cross-border payments, businesses and consumers have numerous challenges moving money across borders. It's expensive, takes time, there's a lot of volatility depending on which border you're trying to transform or cross, essentially. Payouts and remittances, even domestic actually for that matter, are pretty inefficient, right? Sending wire transfers and paying $30 to send money across is still the norm here in the US. Think about treasury, which is any business that actually has to operate globally also has to deal with a treasury function. And this tends to be an incredibly complex opportunity business, right? So most companies, even large corporates, have huge teams that mostly deal with spreadsheets and email and all different sort of models of like homegrown, I guess, solutions to handle liquidity and transfer of liquidity and FX hedging and so forth. So this is a very complex function today for any company that actually wants to operate globally. It's a huge barrier to entry, actually. Compliance. Now, obviously, the regulatory standards globally are very different, and there is, a lot of, I would say, gaps in terms of how the laws sort of actually apply to each other. So there's a lot of gaps in terms of interpretation, and in many ways, the cost of compliance actually may scale more than the cost of revenue. Like, so you may end up paying more to enter a market than sort of the money you're going to be able to extract from that market. So this is actually a sort of foundational ground reality today in the market. And a lot of this was designed, in the 70s, and is basically the infrastructure is running on antiquated technology that is not necessarily fit for purpose for all the use cases that we want to support today. Now the funny thing is, this is kind of the operating environment that we've in some sense normalized, right? A lot of this is taken for granted, and we sort of work around this. But the reality is it's ripe for disruption, and I think the time is now. So enter stablecoins, which I think are crypto's killer use case. So I wanted to take a step back to talk about stablecoins and sort of briefly introduce the concept for those of you who are not familiar. And you can think of stablecoins as internet-native money that are just digital representations of fiat currencies. So they're backed by US dollars or euros or stable currencies, and they're guaranteed, right? So in the sense that every USDC, for example, is backed by US dollar, and so it is not a speculative crypto coin. It is actually backed by financial assets. Behaves in many ways like a dollar, right? So interest earning, for example, it's not speculative, it's stable. There's some uses, of course, for currency hedging and so forth, but fundamentally it is a very different type of crypto coin. So what it does is it removes, in some ways, all the risk of an altcoin, but it brings all the benefits of an altcoin, right? So if you think about the benefits of crypto, they tend to be borderless, right? It's real time, it's low cost, always on, it's interoperable. So in many ways, you can think about stablecoins as what SWIFT would be if it were to be designed today. So as Patrick Collison, the CEO of Strike, founder, who is kind of a visionary in the space, has recently said, stablecoins are in some ways superconductors for global money movement. They're really transformative to the global economy. So wanted to present some statistics to show that this is real, right? This is not a theory, this is not something that's hidden away in some corner of the internet. Stablecoins are absolutely mainstream now. And a few statistics. It's actually a Visa corporate website, so which actually acknowledges that over $10 trillion in annual processing volume now flows through stablecoins, right? This is comparable to Visa, which is one of the largest global networks. Even if you adjust it down and sort of purchases and all the other activity that is not directly related to economic activity, you still end up with billions of dollars in economic transactions right now flowing through stablecoins, right? more fundamentally, and this is really interesting, stablecoin issuers together are the 18th largest holder of US treasuries, right? This is much more than many nation states. So this is not niche anymore. This is core infrastructure today. So, and then we talked about economic utility and how these are being used today. And we can already see and witness a number of use cases where stablecoins are used today, right? So remember the first sort of slide where I talked about the inefficiencies of the financial ecosystem, the legacy infrastructure. Well, actually every one of those has a parallel where stablecoins make the system better, right? So whether it's cross-border money movement, where you can move money very efficiently across borders, whether it's payouts and remittances, businesses or individuals, domestic or cross-border, fiat currency access for those who want, who are in high inflation environments and want to hold on to stable currencies. It's a way for individuals and businesses to hold on to stable currencies and get fiat access that they normally wouldn't have. Got it. Treasury management it's a game changer for treasury management, right? So it is now intercompany fund liquidity and FX can be done in real time, no FX exposure. There's a lot of benefits to actually adopting stablecoins for treasury. There's a bunch of innovations around using cards, right? So actually having prepaid cards working off stablecoin balances, just like a debit card would work off a bank balance. And this is just the beginning, right? This is just a small set of use cases that we've already witnessed globally. So even as stablecoins are growing, I just wanted to take a step back and talk about AI, which I'm sure most of you, in fact all of you, are very familiar with this infrastructure. But I wanted to tie it back to how it relates to stablecoins and why this is really interesting, right? So clearly, there's been a lot of really interesting advances in the core tech, right? Whether it's large language models, whether it's like better data, deep learning models, decisioning, etc. I think foundationally what this has done is we're starting to see the evolution of a new infrastructure for innovation and disruption, right? So just thinking about startups and product development and so forth, obviously there's been a bunch of developments that make it so much easier for you to build applications and deploy them and fail fast and cheap and so forth. There's been a bunch of developments of standards, right? So closed loops to open loops. So rather than having closed loop systems where you have essentially you go to a single service like OpenAI and you sort of interact with the whole system, you're starting to see tools and frameworks like MCP, Model Context Protocol, which allows agents and models to be decoupled from each other and actually interoperate with each other. Very interesting capabilities, right? But actually at the high end of all of this is the evolution of and sort of the rise of agents, right? So this idea that you can now start building and seeing autonomous agents that are high context, have memory, they are personalized to an individual or a business, and actually can perform tasks across this open ecosystem that it now increasingly has access to. So all of that is happening in the core AI space and it's independent of domain, right? But separately, a couple of things have also happened on the financial side that makes this really interesting. One, I think the legacy infrastructure is